Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wood, congratulations on the good work of Trout Unlimited to advocate for our clean waters and our fisheries. I note that in August, Trout Unlimited, with 6 other conservation organizations, submitted joint comments with recommendations for the interagency working group regarding meaningful Good Samaritan proposals to remediate historic AML sites and reprocessing of mine tailings and waste. The comments did highlight the Clean Water Act and CERCLA as 2 primary barriers to making progress on AML reclamation. Can you describe how targeted conditional liability protections in reclamation efforts can help speed up the progress on cleanup of legacy abandoned mine lands?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the kind words about Trout Unlimited. We appreciate that. As I mentioned in my testimony, one of the challenges this puts me in a very difficult situation because there's not a stronger advocate for the Clean Water Act than Trout Unlimited. Fish need cold, clean water every day. Trout do anyway. The challenge, though, is that as vital as that law is, it is meant to stop people from polluting. It doesn't enable people to clean up the effects of pollution. And so, as I mentioned, we have the ability to go in with a lot of these tailings. For example, the solutions are fairly straightforward. They're minor engineering problems with some of these places. We're not talking about Superfund sites. You dig a hole, you line the hole, you bulldoze the tailings into the hole, put an impermeable liner over it, put parent material over it, dig a French drain, and then you can walk away from a lot of these sites. But we can spend a couple of $100,000 to do that kind of work on a site and to bury these tailings. And we might be able to get to 95%, 98% of Clean Water Act standards. But it might be another $2 million. You might need to do a constructed wetland to get to 100%. And once you start dealing with moving water, running water, it implicates the Clean Water Act. And you're required by law to get to 100%, or we would become a potentially responsible party in the government size and liable to citizen suit from anyone. So it's a wonderful law. We don't want to change the Clean Water Act in any way, shape, or form. We just want to demonstrate the prowess of communities, of Good Samaritans to clean up these abandoned mines and to do so in a manner that makes the environment materially better, and then hopefully we can work with Congress to take this idea to scale.
Well, thanks for your willingness to participate and put your financial wherewithal behind these projects. Mr. Ogsbury, how applicable are pilot projects for low-risk AML sites like those in my home state of Wyoming? And is there room to implement Good Samaritan remediation more broadly?
Thank you, Senator Lummis. Again, there are tens of thousands of hazardous abandoned mine sites across the nation. We're looking under this legislation at just 15 pilot projects, and we think that would be a great start, but we want to learn from these projects and maintain momentum. And the best way to build upon these pioneering projects is to ensure that we apply lessons from the projects to future Good Samaritan comprehensive legislation. Western states are an excellent laboratory for testing the system. Rather than contemplating an extension of the pilot projects, we would hope and prefer that the lessons learned from the pilot program be used to inform comprehensive legislation. In the meantime, these pilot projects will help us further understand how to best design projects to make them both attractive to Good Samaritans while ensuring that environmental cleanup quality is maintained. And we'll also be able, hopefully, to make sure that Western states have a leadership role in the design and implementation of the program.
Thank you. And my last question is for Director Cabrera. Can these permits be designed in a way so they are limited in scope to make sure that no one can mine, explore, or conduct other activities outside the scope of the permit under this legislation?
Senator Lummis, absolutely. The EPA will have the ability to set forth specific permit conditions to the particular pilot project. And as far as I read the legislation, EPA is going to have a broad authority to write permit conditions, and as long as the applicant agrees to those permit conditions, the permit may limit many of the activities that occur on the site in terms of scope and ability. The law itself is very narrow and only allows for very narrow reprocessing of materials without additional mining. So the answer to your question is yes.
Thank you all. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.